we need to talk about AI because a brand new report from MIT Technology Review Insights just uncovered a massive disconnect. You see, companies are pouring billions of dollars into artificial intelligence, but the results? Well, they're not what you'd expect. In fact, they might just shock you.
So let's just get right to it. The report surveyed 800 global tech execs, and the headline number is, frankly, staggering. Just look at this. Only 2%. That's it. Only 2% of companies feel they are highly effective at getting real, actual business results from their AI. 2%. I mean, after all the hype, all the investment, that number is just wild.
And, that leads to the big question, the one we're going to unpack here. Why? What is going on? With all of this incredible technology, why is AI falling so flat for almost everybody? Well, the answer, as it turns out, is probably not what you're thinking.
Which brings us right here. You see, this great disappointment with AI, it's not because the algorithms are flawed or the models are dumb. No, the real problem is something much more basic, something that's been hiding in plain sight inside these very companies. This slide really says it all. On one side, you've got AI technology advancing at like light speed, but on the other side, corporate data strategy. And it's basically crawling. The report found that only 12% of companies feel they're highly successful with their data strategy. And get this, that number has barely changed since 2021. So AI is in the fast lane, but the data that fuels it is just stuck in traffic. So what's actually gumming up the works? Well, this chart breaks it down pretty clearly. We're talking about a big talent shortage. 39% of execs say that's a problem. Right behind it, 38% are struggling just to get their hands on up-to-date data. Then you've got the absolute headache of tracking where your data even came from and the tangled mess of security. It's a perfect storm of problems. And if you want to know what that looks like in the real world, this quote from the chief data officer at KT just hits home. Can you imagine trying to run a modern AI program on top of 1,800 old legacy systems? That's not just hard. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of quicksand. The plumbing just wasn't made for this. Okay, so we've laid out the problem. It's a mass of old systems and data strategies that are going nowhere. But the good news is the report doesn't just leave us there. It actually maps out a path forward. And the keyword for that path is unification. It really boils down to these three super critical steps. First, companies have to stop thinking about data and AI as two separate departments. They need one unified strategy. Second, you just gotta bite the bullet and modernize your data architecture. There's no way around it. And third, you have to seriously strengthen your data governance so you can actually trust the data you're using. And this isn't just some abstract idea. As Rafael Cavalcanti from the Bank Bradesco puts it, generative AI was basically a giant wake-up call. It made it painfully obvious that the companies who already had their data and AI strategies combined were the ones who could move fast. When those two things are in sync, everything else just flows so much better. Now, for that third step, governance, there's this key concept called data intelligence. Put simply, it's about understanding your data about your data, the metadata. It helps you see the quality, where it came from, and what it all means for the business. Because without that context, you're basically just feeding your AI a mystery meal and hoping it tastes good. And hey, this isn't some far-off futuristic thing. A whopping 69% of organizations are already getting on board with data intelligence. It's quickly becoming the go-to playbook for any company that's serious about cleaning up its data chaos and building a real foundation for AI. So, just as we're all trying to get our arms around today's AI, the next big thing is already knocking at the door. And this is where getting your data house in order goes from being important to being absolutely non-negotiable. We're about to move from an AI that just analyzes things to an AI that actually does things. Say hello to the era of Agentic AI. We're talking about systems that don't just write a report or answer a question. They can reason, they can plan, and then they can take actions all on their own to achieve a goal. So think about an AI that doesn't just tell you a sales strategy, but then goes and emails the clients, updates your sales software, and books the meetings for you. It's a whole other level. And if you're thinking this sounds like science fiction, think again. It's already happening. Sure, large-scale use is still pretty rare, at only 4%. But if you add it all up, nearly 1 in 5 companies surveyed, 19%, are already using Agentic AI in some way. The early movers are not waiting around. So let's be real. If today's AI is already giving businesses headaches, what is it about this next generation of AI that makes it so much more challenging? Why does giving an AI the power to act raise the stakes so high?
Well, take a look at the top concerns from executives. See a pattern here? It's the same exact challenges we talked about before, but now they're on steroids. How do we plug this into our existing systems? How in the world do we govern and secure an AI that acts on its own? And what happens if it makes a decision that gets us into regulatory trouble? And this quote from Sejong Lee at KT just nails it. The point is, if you're going to hand the car keys over to an AI, it better have a perfect map. It needs data that is incredibly well structured, full of context, and totally explainable. All that foundational data work, governance, lineage, clarity, it's not just a nice to have anymore. For agentic AI, it is the price of admission.
Okay, so after digging into the problem, the solution, and what's just around the corner, the report boils it all down into 4 really clear lessons for success. Think of these as the guiding principles for actually building that AI-driven future everyone's talking about.
Let's walk through them. First, be disciplined. Don't just chase every shiny new AI toy. Have a clear goal. Next, keep your options open. The tech is changing so fast, you can't afford to get locked into one platform. Third, you have to actively fight against fragmentation. Bring your tools and data together. And finally, and this is probably the most important one, always focus on the business result, not just the cool tech.
And that really leaves us with one final big question you should be asking yourself. It's not about whether you're using AI. It's about whether the very foundation of your company, your data, is actually ready for what's coming. Because, as we've seen, the future of AI isn't really being built on fancy algorithms. It's being built on a solid bedrock of clean, governed, and intelligent data. Is yours?